You just texted, "I'm 5 minutes away," but you haven't even stepped into the shower yet. You're doing it again. And despite what your friends, your boss, or your partner thinks, you aren't doing this because you're selfish, and you definitely aren't doing it because you lack a basic understanding of time. Chronic lateness is actually a highly specific psychological glitch. Psychologists have discovered that people who treat arrival times as mere suggestions almost always fall into one of three hidden personality profiles. The first is a bizarre cognitive blind spot. The second is a subconscious coping mechanism for deep-rooted anxiety. But the third type? The third type reveals something so uncomfortable about how you secretly view your own social value, it could permanently ruin your relationships if you don't catch it right now. So, which of the three are you? Every time you walk into that restaurant 20 minutes after everyone else has already ordered, you can feel the subtle shift in the room. The forced smiles, the heavy sighs. You mumble your usual, frantic apologies about unexpected traffic or a last-minute phone call. But inside, you are eating yourself alive with guilt. Because the most agonizing part about chronic lateness is that you actually hate being late. You probably woke up this morning deeply determined that today would be different. You looked at the clock, did the math in your head, and swore you had plenty of time. So, how did you end up sprinting from your car, sweating, and rehearsing yet another excuse? Welcome to the first hidden profile, the magical thinker. If you fall into this category, you are constantly being sabotaged by a severe cognitive blind spot known in psychology as the planning fallacy. To a neurotypical brain, getting ready to leave the house includes finding the car keys, putting on shoes, locking the front door, and inevitably hitting 3 red lights. But to you, those transition steps take exactly 0 minutes. Your brain calculates time based on a flawless, best-case scenario that has literally never happened in the history of the universe. You don't see the friction of reality. You only see the pure, uninterrupted task. For years, people have told you to just buy a planner, set an earlier alarm, or simply try harder. But here is the uncomfortable truth that flips everything you know upside down. You don't have a time management problem. You have a memory glitch. You remember the finish line, but your brain deletes the memory of the struggle. But what if your math is perfectly fine? What if you know exactly how long a trip takes, but you still find yourself paralyzed on the couch? Meet the second profile. The secret dreader. You're fully dressed. You have 10 minutes to leave. You should get up. Instead, you suddenly decide right now is the absolute perfect time to scrub your baseboards, or empty the dishwasher, or check your spam folder. Why? Because to the secret dreader, arriving on time means waiting, and waiting means being exposed. Psychologists call this avoidance behavior. It's a subconscious shield against the anxiety of the destination. If you arrive early to a dinner, you have to make awkward small talk. If you're early to a meeting, you have to sit in agonizing silence. Your nervous system treats that unstructured downtime as a literal threat. So, your brain creates artificial urgency. You stall and self-sabotage until the sheer adrenaline of being late finally overrides your social anxiety. You aren't mismanaging time. You are managing dread. But what if you aren't anxious at all? What if you actually love the destination? That brings us to the third profile. And this is the one nobody ever wants to admit to. Enter the main character. Deep down, you despise being the person waiting at the table. Because waiting subconsciously implies your time is less valuable than theirs. By arriving last, you instantly hijack the power dynamic. The moment you walk in, the conversation stops. All eyes shift to you. You become the absolute focal point of the room. You tell yourself you hate the guilt of being late, but your ego is addicted to the status it provides. You are using your tardiness as a silent tax on your friend's time, subconsciously testing them to prove you are worth waiting for. It sounds brutal. It feels toxic. And it will quietly poison your relationships if you let it. But before you spiral and assume you're a terrible person, you need to understand the biological loop that just trapped you. Every time you race against the clock and barely slide into your seat, your brain gets flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. When you finally arrive and the crisis is averted, you experience a massive, relieving surge of dopamine. You didn't just commute, you survived a high-stakes emergency. Over time, your nervous system literally becomes addicted to the biochemical rush of running out of time. You aren't just failing to read a clock. You are an adrenaline junkie subconsciously manufacturing your own daily crises just to feel that ultimate sense of relief. To permanently break this cycle, you have to stop fighting the clock and start outsmarting your own psychology. If you are the magical thinker, you must stop visualizing the flawless scenario. You have to implement a mandatory friction tax. If your brain says a drive takes 20 minutes, you forcefully budget 30. You plan for the red lights, the lost keys, and the friction of the real world. If you are the secret dreader, you need to fundamentally reframe the destination. Arriving early isn't a social trap. It is reclaimed freedom. Bring a book, put in your headphones, and turn those 10 early minutes into an intentional sanctuary where nobody needs anything from you. You aren't awkwardly waiting on them. You are enjoying your own peace. And if you are the main character, you have to face the hardest truth of all. Making people wait doesn't make you important. It makes you predictable. True respect in any relationship doesn't come from a dramatic, chaotic entrance that forces everyone to look at you. It comes from walking in calm, centered, and demonstrating that you value yourself enough to master your own life. You no longer have to spend your days sweating behind the steering wheel, drafting fake apology texts, and living in a constant state of low-grade panic. You are not fundamentally broken, and you are not condemned to always be 5 minutes behind the rest of the world. The second you step out of the illusion, stop dreading the empty silence, and let go of the ego, time completely stops being your enemy. You finally get to step into a version of yourself that is completely and unapologetically free from the chaos. Stepping into that calm, unapologetically free version of yourself is just the first battle. Once you conquer the chaos of the clock, you will suddenly find yourself with reclaimed time, and that is exactly when your brain will try to self-sabotage through procrastination. To outsmart that next psychological trap and keep building your momentum, click the video on your screen right now. We are going to break down the subconscious reason you avoid doing the work you actually want to do, and exactly how to fix it. Click the video and keep taking your life back.